Christmas is a time of great extravagance, where lots of things end up in the bin and inevitably wind up in landfill. This includes food, packaging, but also even things that we're replacing at Christmas that we no longer want. It doesn't have to be like that, and there's actually an awful lot we can compost in our gardens to reduce the amount of waste going into landfill. There's always loads of kitchen scraps at Christmas, from cauliflowers, cabbage, red cabbage obviously, potato peelings, you name it, there's loads and loads of vegetable scraps. We gardeners already know the value of vegetable scraps in the compost heap, which will recycle itself back into the soil and help our plants grow better next year. If you have a hot bin like I do, or a bokashi system which pickles the waste, you can also add hot food, meat, small bones and even lumpy gravy. So here I've got a little bit of old vegan Wellington and the lumpy gravy, and that's all going in to the compost. As well as food, there's cardboard. We use an estimated 300,000 tonnes of cardboard in the UK every festive season. Now a lot of that is recycled, but much of it isn't. So the more we can compost in our gardens, the better. Luckily for us gardeners, cardboard is absolute gold dust. The worms love it. It composts beautifully, it returns to the soil, it's really, really good. You can also use it in no-dig systems, so larger boxes you can flatten down, use to cover the soil, and then add compost on top of that, plant directly into it, and you don't have to dig. But for smaller boxes like this, they're absolutely perfect for composting. When you're composting cardboard packaging, always remove the sellotape from around the box, which obviously doesn't compost. And then cut it up into little pieces, making sure there's no sellotape on it, and just cut it all up, and that can be added to your compost bin. Then of course there's the wrapping paper itself, used to wrap your Christmas presents. Anything that's cardboard based or plain brown paper, that can be composted, and the worms absolutely love it. So always try to buy either plain brown wrapping paper or eco wrapping paper that uses vegetable based inks, and you can compost all of that. So buy it yourself and encourage others too as well, and then that's more that you can compost in the garden. Avoid things like this, which on the surface it seems like it could be compostable. It's nice brown paper, but it's got this glittery Christmas messaging on it, so you don't really want to be putting that glitter in the soil, which is obviously a very important ecosystem. And then something like this, which even though it's got lovely bees on it, isn't very good for the garden. It's a little bit too shiny, and the inks involved in making this pattern aren't very good for the soil either. So avoid things like this. And then anything else used to wrap presents, so tissue paper, just bits of packing material in boxes, anything that's plain, preferably brown, that can go in the compost. The worms will digest it, they'll turn it into the most glorious compost that you can reuse in the garden. One final tip when adding paper to the compost heap is to scrunch it up. These little balls will create the perfect little air pockets, which will help air circulate around the waste in the heap and help it break down quicker.